He told me Christmas Day, on Santa, joy to the world, we celebrate the simple.
Multi-award-winning singer-songwriter Lennie Gallant is sharing his gifts in front of a live audience again. His holiday-themed show, The Innkeeper's Christmas, is coming to the Maritimes this month. I caught up with him just before soundcheck in London, Ontario. He's my guest today on Thinking Out Loud. Hi there, welcome back. My name is Sheldon McLeod. This is Thinking Out Loud. It's here on the SaltWire Network. You can also find us where you find your favorite podcasts. And I again invite you to find out, search for, and like and subscribe our new YouTube channel. I've had the distinct pleasure of speaking with this gentleman for many, many times, and am always enamored by what a great performer he is. And to that point, Junos, Canadian Folk Music Awards, 19 East Coast Music Awards, music that transcends boundaries. And of course, the reason we're talking today is about this show. It's called The Innkeeper's Christmas, and it's Lennie Gallant and his amazing band and Christmas cheer. And going now to Ontario, where we have Lennie Gallant to speak with us today. Lennie Gallant, it's so great to see you again. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you, Sheldon?
I'm doing well. I assume you're getting back into the Christmas spirit, back on stage performing these songs again.
Yeah, we're having a great time. I think we're doing our 6th or 7th show tonight in Ontario. We're doing 9 shows around Ontario and then heading back to the East Coast.
So you're back
for the last half of the tour.
Back in Nova Scotia. I see Riverview or Miramichi in the 6th. The 7th is Riverview, then Truro, Antigonish, Wolfville, Halifax. LennieGallant.com is where you go if you want to pick up tickets to see this amazing show. I guess the big question right now is, have we gotten back to where it was before the pandemic?
Well, we've had a great time. The houses have been pretty full. Most of them are really full, and people seem to be back into enjoying concerts again. Very unlike last year when we did a little tour, a lot of people were masked up. Not so many are masked this time around, just a very small minority. But people seem definitely into getting outdoors again and enjoying some cultural events, and they were pumped for the shows.
And I was watching another performer, a comedian, who was saying, we forgot what we missed, and what we missed was this interaction, this fellowship, this opportunity to come together and be in the same space and experience the same feelings and emotions at the same time. You
do get that sense for sure that people have been very anxious to communicate and share some energy and laughs, with other people sitting around them, but also with the performers.
Now you have performed some of this material obviously before, and what can you tell me about what's new with Innkeeper's Christmas? Maybe we should start with who's playing with you. Who's the band?
I've got a wonderful band. I've never had so much fun on stage. My partner Patricia, my partner in music and in life, Patricia Richard. She is super well known in the Acadian world because she's been a part of Francophone music for quite a number of years, and she's been part of many bands, in particular one called Ode à l'Acadie, Ode to Acadia, which showcased Acadian songwriters all over the world. They did about 1,000 performances all over the world, and she was a big part of that show. She plays multiple instruments. And we have on fiddle and bass is Keelan Wedge, super talented musician with a beautiful voice from Prince Edward Island. She's really well known across PEI, and people aren't going to forget her when they see what she's up to. And on keyboard, for many years I had my nephew Jeremy Gallant playing keyboard with me, and he's a fabulous keyboard player. But just a couple of years ago, he decided he wanted to see the world, so he and his girlfriend wanted to travel. So we didn't know what we were going to do for a keyboard player because he's a hard man to replace, or big boots to fill. But sometimes when you're faced with an insurmountable problem, the answer is right before your nose. And it just so happened that Patricia Richard's son, Julian Robichaud, played keyboard. He'd never been in the band before. And we decided to try him. We could not believe how good he turned out to be. He's awesome. And there is no lack of talent coming from Julian at all. He's everybody's good in a different way. And so we've got a very strong band.
It's the Innkeeper's Christmas 2022. And I know the Christmas album, Christmas Day on Planet Earth, was something that you're very proud of, and rightfully so. It's a great piece of work. That story, and perhaps some people haven't heard how that came together. That's a big part of the show. What can you tell me about that?
The song itself is interesting how it happened in that. I sing the song with a group called Black Umfulosi, who are also coincidentally on tour around the East Coast right now. But that's another story I'll get to in a minute. But this was a number of years back, they were touring Canada, and their agent happens to be a friend of mine. And he said, they're touring Canada, but they're on PEI doing a date, and then they have 3-4 days off, and they need a place to stay and hang. As musicians are, when you're on tour, you're always trying to avoid hotel bills if you can help it. And he asked me, do you know of a place they could stay? And I said, well, you know what? I'm renting a cottage out on the North Shore. They can have the cottage I'm renting, and I'll go stay with Patricia, my partner. And he said, oh, that would be amazing if that could happen. So he said, maybe you guys could do something together while they're there. And I thought, well, that would be fantastic. I love. They have beautiful voices. If anyone has ever heard the Paul Simon's Graceland album, they're kind of similar to Ladysmith Black Mambazo, who sang on that album. They have beautiful a cappella voices. And I was trying to think of how I might, be able to blend in with these guys. And I thought, I bet they'd be great on a Christmas song. So in the middle of a heat wave in July, I wrote a Christmas song specifically to sing with these guys. And when they arrived, we ended up we got together one evening and then went to a friend of mine's photography studio barn, and we recorded the song and shot a video for it all in one day. You can see the video on YouTube, Christmas Day on Planet Earth, Lennie Gallant. And we're pretty proud of it, considering how it all came together so fast. And once I had that song and I had a couple of other songs written, I decided, okay, it's time to flesh it out and make a whole album. Originally, I didn't think it would be a totally original music album. I thought I'd just write a couple more songs, but once I started writing them, they kept coming, and suddenly I had a whole album's worth of original material. So that's what it is, a whole new Christmas album of songs you've probably never heard before.
Lennie Gallant, as you bring this music to the stage, it's called The Innkeeper's Christmas, and you've been in dramatic scenarios pulling your music to the stage in that way. Is there a narrative through this? Are the songs tied together, or is this a typical or traditional concert where you perform the songs and move through those and perhaps tell a few stories about where they came from?
There's not really a narrative like I had with my show Searching for Abigail. It's not so much of a narrative. Each song takes a different look at a different perspective at Christmas. Some are very funny. Like I have a song on there called "I'm Gonna Have a Merry Christmas Even If It Kills Me," for people who might want to give Christmas a pass. And I've been there. We've probably all been there at one time or another. Like, maybe I just don't want to participate in Christmas this year. So it kind of takes a look at that Christmas from that attitude. There's a song on there that I wrote. I was very compelled to write a song about frontline workers at Christmas time, and in particular nurses. And there's a song on there called "The Gift," and it's just about being a nurse on Christmas Eve and what is that? How does that feel? Where's that coming from? And that's a bit of a narrative story. And I drew heavily on my partner Patricia for that one, because she was a nurse for 15 years, and she also worked on the streets with addicts and homeless people. And so I drew from her experience with that song. And there's other songs on there that, while being quite celebratory, maybe also talk a little bit about the environment. The best gift we could possibly give our kids for Christmas is a healthy planet. Without being preachy. There's no songs that are preachy, but we try to put a few messages into some. And then there are songs that are just a lot of fun. There's one co-write on the album that I co-wrote with my partner Patricia. It's called "All I Want for Christmas." And we figured, that you're not allowed to play "Baby It's Cold Outside" on the radio anymore because it's politically incorrect now. So we figured there's a void that needs to be filled. And so we co-wrote a kind of a conversational song to fill that void, and that's a lot of fun. And we had a lot of fun with that. And we have Mike Cowie, a famous jazz trumpeter, drop in and play a solo on that song. And it really runs the gamut. Some songs are just for fun, a lot of fun. They're celebrating Christmas. The one I've got a song on there with a duet with John Dunsworth. That I wrote that song before I was writing the album. That was a theme song I was writing for an album that John starred in called Santa Quest,
Right.
and where he went all around the world and learned about various cultures, how they celebrate Santa, and a very funny and poignant movie. I was asked to write the theme song for it, and after I wrote it, I said, "Well, it'd be great to have John sing it." So we got him in the studio, and we ended up making a duet out of it. Sadly, as you know, John, who a lot of people may not know him by his name, but John's a fabulous actor. Probably one of his most famous roles is Mr. Leahy on the Trailer Park Boys. But after I wrote the song, he passed away a couple of years ago, but he was there when I was actually recording it, and we went in the studio and made a duet out of the song. And the album is actually dedicated to his spirit, because he was a very wonderful, generous human being.
He certainly was. He touched a lot of lives, and people perhaps don't know how much he worked with other actors and other performers before he was perhaps best known as that character from the Trailer Park Boys. It's called The Innkeeper's Christmas. Who's the Innkeeper? Is that the title of a song on the album?
Oh, I think we've all played the Innkeeper at one time or another. I've probably played him a couple of times. And that song came about because I used to do some work down in Nashville. I'd go down there and write 3 or 4 times a year for that market a little bit. And I had a person working for me down there, and she called me up one Christmas and said, "Do you have any Christmas songs? Because there's a couple of artists down here looking to do Christmas albums, and I'd like to pitch them some Christmas songs." And I said, "Well, I don't today, but I will tomorrow." And so that night I was just trying to think of how would one come into. I love the original Nativity story, the original Christmas story. There's such a simplicity to it, and it's just a really beautiful, simple story that it's people, I think, can always look at as kind of a touchstone about Christmas. And I was thinking it'd be kind of nice to get into that story a little bit in a way that hasn't been done. So I was thinking about all the characters in it, and when I came across the Innkeeper, he's kind of a Scrooge kind of character in a way. He turns the anointed couple away in their hour of need. And I thought, I wonder what ever happened to that guy. There's an interesting dude. So I started writing the song, and it has since become quite popular, that song as well. I've had a number of choirs do it at Christmas. In fact, on PEI, there was a woman who was so taken with the song, she made a pageant out of it. And got 200 people involved at a church, big basilica church in PEI, all surrounding that particular song, The Innkeeper. And so I was very honored to have that kind of thing happen. And a number of years ago, we started calling the concert The Innkeeper's Christmas. And so I've just been expanding on it. This year, I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but we have on stage a huge screen with us. And so it's very much a multimedia show in that we use all kinds of video and some little video and photographs, but in particular paintings that my sister Karen Gallant did for several songs, and she's a really well-known, unique artist on Prince Edward Island, and I'd encourage anyone to go and check her work out at KarenGallant.com. But we use a lot of her stuff as well.
Sounds like very much a family event in a lot of ways, a lot of connections in between the band and the personal connections and the relationships. And that's what the holidays are. It's about relationships. And I'm curious about this tradition you've now sort of moved into, which is touring leading up to the holidays. Does it give you time to do your shopping?
It's a pretty intensive tour. I don't know if you looked at the dates, but we don't have many days off, and we're feeling the should I say the pressure a little bit. But I think the band's favorite song in the show right now is the song "I'm Gonna Have a Merry Christmas Even If It Kills Me," with all the traveling we're doing. And setting the screen up for every show and tearing it down after. It's a lot of work, but when we get in front of the audience and get that energy transferring back and forth, it's really worth it. That's for sure.
We're getting back to live performances. I know a lot of people over the last day or so are talking about their Spotify playlists, and I'm curious as to what the streaming services mean for an artist like Lennie Gallant. Is that something that you think about, given that you're doing the work that you've done for years, which is recording albums, putting them out, and touring to support them and get in front of people to perform?
Well, streaming is a double-edged sword, as you know. It's nice that people have instant access to an artist if they want to check out an artist, and I'm really glad about that. That people are discovering my work, but at the same time, it's difficult financially because streaming pays so little bit. I think what is it? I think if 1 million people listen to your record, you make like $4,000. It's crazy. But at the same time, it's good that people are listening to it, and hopefully they will come out to the show. I'm very fortunate in that I still have a number of people who buy the physical copies of the album, because that's really where an artist can make a few dollars and try to support the tours and so forth. And with that in mind, we actually have the Christmas album out on vinyl this year.
Fantastic.
And last year we tried to get it out in vinyl, but there was such a backup with the factories. Everybody wants vinyl, and so we weren't able to get it out in vinyl last year, but we have it in vinyl this year.
I love it's going back to that tactile experience. It's not just the material; it's a medium. It's the liner notes. It's the whole experience. So I'm glad to see that's happening, and I'm sure the show is an amazing event for folks to witness. Again, returning to specifically Nova Scotia on the 9th of December, in Antigonish, Wolfville on the 10th, 11th is Halifax, Sydney on the 13th, Charlottetown for the 17th, and Summerside back in the home province at Harbourfront Theatre for December the 18th.
Did you mention Pumpket, Antigonish? I think we're doing one.
Yeah, the 9th is says here Antigonish at the old.
Antigonish, Pumpket. Yeah. That's it.
Well, fantastic. It's always great to catch up with you, and I know that you've got to head off to soundcheck, and Merry Christmas, and I wish you all the best to you and Patricia and the family and the band.
Thank you very much, Sheldon. I much appreciate you taking time.
The only thing I didn't ask you was about Christine McVie's passing from Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, yeah, wasn't that shocking? She's quite young.
Yeah, and
not only that, and I just found out last night about Ralph Dillon. Do you know who Ralph Dillon is?
I didn't know, but I saw someone post. Actually, it was Lenore Zan who said she was married to him for a brief time. He was.
I used to stay with them in Toronto with Lenore and Ralph when they were together. I'd crash at their house.
Okay, and he played with Rita McNeil. She described it as basically he was the one that discovered her and helped her, find her voice on stage.
I think a lot of Rita's songs, there's a lot of Ralph in them, because Rita didn't actually play an instrument, as far as I know, and Ralph was the person who would take what she was doing and make it work on stage musically. Before I knew him, I used to go see him and Rita performing in little clubs like the Brothers 2 Lounge in Summerside or somewhere. I would go see Ralph and Rita, and I got to know him in later years, and we had a lot of fun together. I hung out with him a little bit. We actually went down to the Caribbean one time, Ralph and I, to just get away and try to do a little bit of writing, and we did write a song that never got released. Maybe I'll try to dig it up and see if I can find it.
Condolences.
He was an awesome guy. Everybody who knew Ralph loved him. Very generous spirit, and a musical fella, and he's going to be missed a great deal. I know he was an iconic Cape Bretoner. No kidding.
My condolences to you and to for that loss. Again, thank you so much for this, and I really do appreciate you finding some time. And no worries, this isn't live, so we didn't have to worry about the timing that much. I was just worried that time zones might have gotten in the way of us, but I'm glad we were able to connect today.
Thank you, Sheldon.
I wish you all the best, and break a leg, as they say.
Merry Christmas, even if it kills you.
Even if it kills me. Thank you, sir. Cheers.
And it's only peace and love we want to share. On Christmas Day. Christmas Day we open